Today we will be replacing the rear brake pads on my 2009 Harley Road King Classic. We will operate under the assumption you have already removed the rear bags, tailpipes, and rear wheel. If this is not the case, please pause and search for Pilot View Productions and look for Harley rear wheel removal. As you can see, once the rear axle is removed, the brake assembly is left sitting on the swing arm shelf. Here's where the axle fits. Gently remove and lower the brake assembly, taking care not to damage the brake line by aggressively dropping the unit. Looking around the shop, I decided to perch the brake assembly on this paint can to take the weight off the brake line while I replace the pads. Let's begin by removing this pin clip. Take note of its position with the tip pointed toward the outside of the brake assembly. The clip fits around the neck of the underlying pin, which I will show you. Using a 5mm Allen wrench, break the pin loose and turn it counterclockwise to remove. Note the neck of the pin around which the clip attaches. Also note the threads are around the head of this pin. Upon reassembly, this is where I will put a drop of blue thread lock. As I rotate the assembly, you can now see the two old brake pads. Remove these pads, remembering the orientation. The pin I removed runs through the opening on each pad, here, while these circular marks were left by the pressure of the calipers. Later, I will apply some flexible anti-squill lubricant at these circular locations. In preparation for cleaning the now empty brake assembly, the paint can is swapped for a catch pan. There is no better time to clean out the old brake dust and debris than right now. I'm using an off-the-shelf brake parts cleaner I got at my local Advance Auto. It does a really good job, but you want to watch the fumes and wear eye protection and gloves. Using this straw helps me get into small crevices. By pivoting the housing, you can now see the four calipers fully engaged and protruding. These calipers will need to be gently pressed flat to make room for the new pads, which are naturally thicker than the old ones that came off. How do I do that? With an old shop rag and some slip joint pliers. The rag is inserted to protect both the face of the calipers and to keep from scratching the housing. Spread the pliers appropriately, and as you clamp down you will feel the caliper slowly being pressed flat. Let's check the results. Look at the caliper on the left compared to the one I just compressed. After compressing all four calipers, you should have something that looks like this. Here are our new carbon Kevlar pads. I'll leave you a link if you're interested in purchasing the same. Stock brake pads on a motorcycle are notorious for squealing and making other annoying noises. You can eliminate this in 2 steps. Using a Dremel tool or just a sanding block, lightly sand all the way around the edges of both pads at a 45-degree angle. Secondly, apply some brake lubricant or anti-squill material to the backs of each brake pad. This product was all they had at my local Advance Auto. I had never used CRC before, and I must admit I was not crazy about it being pink, but hey, if it works, it works. The instructions state to apply it liberally and let it dry for 10 minutes. The nozzle opening only allows for liberal squeeze out, and I applied the product around the caliper contact locations shown earlier. Now I wasn't going to show you this next part. In fact, I was going to leave it on the cutting room floor, but then I thought, why not show the mess that can accompany this product? After letting the CRC dry for 15 minutes, I began the brake pad reassembly. Right off the bat, as I slid the first pad into place, the CRC product touched the edge of the brake assembly, causing a smeared mess that eventually got all over my gloved fingers, paint can, and floor. And then as I was adjusting the pad, it fell out, causing even more of a mess. The fact that the product was pink didn't help. It got smeared seemingly everywhere, and I had to painstakingly clean it all up, even inside the calipers. Based on what I see so far, I'd recommend a different product that I've used before on the front pads, and here it is, made by Permatex. It's purple in color and only calls for the use of a thin film. This product has worked great so far and there was no mess. So for round 2 I learned something. I must insert the pads without touching the CRC product to anything until the pad is seated. Let me show you. Note how I'm keeping the back of the pad with the CRC product away from the sides of the brake assembly until the pad is fully inserted. Let me show you a different angle with the second pad. Press in the tail end of the pad first and let it rest on top of the molded stop that is pointed to here. Then lift the front of the pad into place. Here is yet another angle. Note how I'm not letting the bottom of the pad touch the brake assembly until the pad is inserted and seated. Thus I'm not smearing the CRC product. Once inserted, inspect your fit. You may use your finger or a screwdriver or equivalent to adjust the pads if necessary, but be careful they don't fall out and make a mess. Now it's time to reinsert the pin through the openings in both pads. Here I'm showing you a close-up of how the clip will fit on the pin once the pin is inserted. I'm sure there are torque specs on this, but being a shade tree mechanic, I just hand tighten the pin snugly and leave the rest to the thread lock. Lastly, here's a close-up of the clip being reapplied around the neck of the pin. Remember, the bend in the clip points toward the outside of the brake assembly. Lift the assembly back up on the swing arm shelf and realign the axle receptacle to prepare for remounting the rear wheel and insertion of the axle. Anytime you work on your brakes, pump the brake lever before riding. Make sure you feel resistance or don't ride. This could save your life. And this project is complete.